Finally, it is my favorite time of year, the NFL playoffs. And I mean that sincerely. I love the NFL playoffs more than almost anything. As some of the videos on this channel have demonstrated, I am an absolute nerd for NFL history, and every snap of playoff football is another chapter in that War and Peace-sized book that maybe I'll write someday about who was actually good and who wasn't. I'm not going to predict the whole bracket, but let's go game by game through the wild card round. I'll tell you who is going to win and why, not doing point spreads, but I'll give you a score. I'm not a gambling man. Rams at Panthers. Honestly, a home playoff game for the Carolina Panthers is probably the only scenario that could have pushed the Texans out of their patented Saturday afternoon playoff slot. It's their first home playoff game since their best season in franchise history, the 15-1 Cam Newton MVP year, a full decade ago. Aren't we getting old? These two teams matched up in Carolina back in Week 13, and the Panthers pulled off the massive upset, which will give them probably the most confidence going into this game. There are other options for opponents going into Week 18 were the Niners or the Seahawks, both who beat the life out of Carolina this season. So, best case scenario, I guess. And yet, despite all that, I like the Rams probably more than anyone in the NFC at this moment. Their defense has absolutely shown cracks in recent weeks against Atlanta and Arizona, I won't deny that. Devontae Adams coming back is a huge deal. We know he's the go-to in the red zone, but the Panthers could have simply put J.C. Horn on Nakua and run it up, give themselves a chance at a decent shot in the passing game. Now that calculus absolutely changes. In the first matchup between these teams, the Panthers were doing handstands, intercepting Stafford multiple times, including a pick six, forcing a late fumble, picking up massive fourth down conversions. I just think that when you're the better team, and the Rams are, a team can get away with a game like that once. You can't let it happen twice. The Rams are, to me, gettable, especially now having to go on the road for the playoffs, but on the high end, best on best, I like them over just about everybody. I think they jump on Carolina early. It's worth noting the Panthers have been pretty awful to end the season, hence the sub-500 record. It's also worth noting that the only three teams to make the playoffs with a worse point differential than the 2025 Panthers all actually won a game. I don't see that happening, but offense has been tough for them to manufacture this season. I think the Rams play mistake-free and move the ball all day. Rams 27, Panthers 10. Packers at Bears. Maybe the most anticipated matchup of the weekend. It's the most storied rivalry in NFL history. It's seen a resurgence this year with the series being split. It's Bears-Packers, and it's in Chicago, baby. The Bears' last win was versus the Packers, and the Packers' last win was versus the Bears. How about that? The Packers are the 7th seed for the third straight season, and yet, even without Micah Parsons, I think this is the year they should feel best about their chances. Of course, in 2023, they pulled off an upset over Dallas. In 2024, they stood little chance against the eventual champion Eagles. Now they get a third shot at the Bears, a team that is hard to gauge right now. I'm not a believer in the Bears' defense. They are what Dan Quinn's Cowboys defenses, ironically also with DB coach Al Harris, were back in 2023. Turnover merchants. And that's not a bad thing to be. Every defense wants to force turnovers, but the sign of a consistently good defense is stops and tackling. I think Love is going to get time to throw in this game. And let's not forget Malik Willis pushed these Bears to overtime a few weeks ago in a losing effort. My hope is we see desperation push Caleb Williams to the next level. It's really the beauty of the playoffs. Apprehension goes out the window and we get to see who's really a guy. The high-end plays show why he was drafted so high. The low end is ugly, but usually doesn't often lead to turnovers. Even without Micah, I like the Packers' defense just a little more in this spot. The Bears are moving in the right direction, undoubtedly, and the Packers have limped down the stretch here. Something tells me the Packers win this one at Soldier Field. Ownership renewed. I think it'll be a memorable one, but I like LaFleur's chances of scheming guys open versus Chicago's defense as opposed to Ben Johnson scheming guys open versus Green Bay's. And I like Jordan Love to deliver those throws a little more now. Packers win it at the gun, 24-23. Bills at Jaguars. If you want a sign that Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen might actually be on the same level, reference this video, because I'm essentially going to use the forbidden Mahomes logic in order to justify this pick. The Jaguars have flatly been the better team this season. Obviously the record shows it, but I've been floored by their recent performances. Trevor Lawrence is playing as well as any quarterback in the league in the back half, and these have not been empty stats either. It's week after week of high difficulty throws. Their defense has been strong all season. Travis Etienne is resurgent. Jacoby Myers has turned the Travis Hunter injury, and to an extent, Brian Thomas Jr., into an afterthought with the help of Parker Washington. The reasons all make total sense, and at home, all signs point to a Jags victory. But I can't do it. Josh Allen is really the only playoff performer in the league comparable to Patrick Mahomes. Although the results don't go his way, he's always excellent. I'd like to believe he's been saving some of that Josh Allen Superman mode stuff for the playoffs. For that reason, and James Cook, I like Buffalo here. I feel kind of wrong doing this. It could totally come back to bite me, but for the life of me, I cannot visualize the Jaguars beating the AFC's second best team of the decade. A team with exponentially more playoff experience and a better quarterback. I will do you this deal, Jacksonville fans. If the Jags win this game, I think they'll go to the Super Bowl. I'm dead serious when I say that. At this stage, and being the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's about what I can visualize. If they can send Josh Allen home, they can do anything in my book. Bills take it in Duval, 33-30. 49ers at Eagles. Good God, I am not going to be sitting or smiling for this entire game. Here's the deal. The Niners are better coached, so we could see some kind of Shanahan masterclass that brings this one home. Against most teams in the playoffs, I'd take the Niners, because most teams' strength is offense, and the Niners can score with anybody. Unfortunately, they ran into the Eagles' defense. If there is one team equipped to deal with McCaffrey outside of Seattle, it's the hyper-athletic linebackers and slot corner in Cooper DeJean of the Eagles. If there's one coach that can match wits with Shanahan's scheme, it's Vic Fangio. Brock Purdy has been excellent lately, but quarterbacks consistently play their worst against this Philly defense because they're excellent. San Francisco's defense has performed admirably for most of the season without its two best players. Unfortunately, their run defense is so bad, the Eagles might remember how to actually run the ball this week. They don't have the corners that can cover Smith and Brown. They don't have guys who can get pressure on Hurts. The Eagles' offense, frustrating though it is with Lane Johnson back, should be able to do enough. The Eagles have yet to lose a home playoff game in the Hurts-Sirianni era. The good thing about the playoffs is that you can't be mad after victories like I have been so often during this Eagles season. Birds take it 20-10. Chargers at Patriots. Justin Herbert versus Drake May is such an enticing quarterback matchup, and even I have to admit, it's going to be cool having a playoff game in Foxborough again. Both of these teams are incredibly tough to read right now. The Chargers' defense has been quietly excellent, which makes me think the Patriots' weapons might find things really difficult for the first time in a while. The Chargers' clear offensive weakness is that they can't protect Herbert, but is the Patriots' pass rush good enough to really expose that weakness? I'm not so sure of that. It would really be something if all the scheduled talk about the Pats this season culminated in a first-round exit to LA. I don't see the Chargers running the ball particularly well, but Herbert is absolutely capable of putting the cape on and carrying this offense to a win. May, meanwhile, has the better infrastructure in a Josh McDaniels offense. Even though I love this Chargers defense, I think the Pats will outsmart them just enough offensively to get a lead and rush Herbert. This game could go either way, but I like the Pats just 23-20. And finally, Texans at Steelers. Game 272 was an absolute thrill, but unfortunately I think that's probably going to be the high point for the Steelers this year. Content might not be the word, but Aaron Rodgers seemed pretty happy with winning the division, as he should be. From his perspective, he proved that he can still be a winning quarterback in the NFL even at 42, but a playoff winning quarterback is another thing, and something that he's actually struggled with even in his late career MVP years. This version of the Steelers' offense is, to its credit, the best of the last 5 or so years, where the Steelers have relived the same season over and over. Unfortunately, they're up against the best defense in the conference in Houston. It's a defense loaded with blue chippers versus an offense that gets most of its passing production out of its running backs. While it's a big deal to have DK Metcalf back, I don't think he'll be a major factor. The Texans tend to take things away. Rodgers is going to be getting the ball out at lightning speed because the Texans' rush will be on him immediately, and that doesn't bode well for any kind of chunk plays. No one swarms to the ball like Houston. I think they'll be all over the screen and swing pass game. The Steelers' defenses look better, especially now with Hayward and Watt back. On the back end, they are liable to a coverage bust, and I think Stroud will do just enough. This game really is a story of I like Houston's defense versus Pittsburgh's offense more than I like Pittsburgh's defense versus Houston's offense. They're winners of 9 straight, absolute road warriors. Texans win in Pittsburgh 23-13. Everybody please go enjoy the wildcard round as much as I will. This is what we wait all year for. I'll see you next week.